After a couple weeks of some bad news, Xbox and Microsoft gets a major victory. There's a lot here to talk about, so let's get into it. What is going on, everybody? This is Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. Hope everyone's having a great day. If you guys can do me a huge favor, make sure you hit the like button and please subscribe. If you haven't, let's get to 94,000 and onwards to 100K. I love you all. Now, I think it's pretty fair to say that the past few weeks for Xbox have not been very good, starting with the announcement that Redfall was only going to be at 30 frames on the world's most powerful console, the Series X. Continuing on with the CMA shocking everybody by blocking the ABK deal and throwing a huge wrench into Microsoft and Xbox's plans, not only for the rest of this year, but for the entire future of the company, and then ending with Redfall reviews coming out and being a complete disaster. Right now, I think it sits at Metacritic at a 57 and has led to a lot of Xbox dooming and glooming about whether or not they can actually make great games. What are the teams over there doing? Xbox should just sell off and just leave the console market. There's a lot of different takes out there about all this, but much needed today. Xbox got a major victory and has kind of breathed new life into everybody's favorite subject, the ABK deal, because the European Commission has cleared Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, and the approval is subject to Microsoft licensing Activision Blizzard games automatically to rival cloud gaming services. Now, as you would expect, people at both Microsoft and Activision are extremely happy right now. They're probably going to use the European Commission's decision to pass this and all the remedies that went into making this deal happen as part of their appeal process to the tribunal that Microsoft's going to appeal to overturn the CMA decision, to make it seem like they were irrational, all those sort of things. But you know what seemed really salty about this today? Because they responded almost immediately with a take that said, even though we respect the EU, they're completely wrong in this. See, this whole drama with ABK has been going on between PlayStation and Xbox, sniping each other back and forth. I yearned for the days where Jim Ryan would say something stupid and Phil Spencer would counter, and we'd have a nice little back and forth. That kind of went by the wayside. But now we have some drama between regulators, because the European Commission has basically said that this deal and the remedies applied would actually improve competition, while the CMA has basically said it would destroy an emerging market. So first off, we have President of Microsoft, Brad Smith, with this tweet that said the European Commission has required Microsoft to license popular Activision Blizzard games automatically to competing cloud gaming services. This will apply globally and will empower millions of consumers worldwide to play these games on any device they choose. Now, Lulu over at Activision Blizzard has a little bit more to say. She says Activision Blizzard plans to meaningfully expand our investment in workforce throughout the EU, and we're excited for the benefits our deal with Microsoft offers players in Europe and elsewhere. Now, remember, Bobby Kotick famously said once the CMA blocked the deal that the European Kingdom was closed for business, that tech companies might look to go elsewhere to kind of invest. And Lulu kind of brings it up immediately in the first tweet. She goes on to say that today the European Commission approved our merger with Microsoft, subject to strict remedies, to ensure robust competition continues in our rapidly growing industry. Our talented teams in Sweden, Spain, Germany, Romania, Poland, and other European countries have the skills, ambition, and government support needed to compete globally. And with the EU's firm, yet pragmatic, unbiased, and fact-driven approach to regulation, we expect these European teams to continue delivering growth and innovation going forward. Now, talk about shots fired directly at the CMA here with this last tweet. Basically saying that the CMA is the complete opposite of pragmatic, unbiased, and didn't use facts to drive their decision. Saying essentially that they're completely biased and wanted the decision blocked from the very beginning, if I'm kind of reading in between the lines here. Now, in what I think is a sign of desperation and pure weakness, the CMA, the Competitions and Market Authority of the UK that blocked the deal a couple weeks ago, immediately after a few minutes, once the European Commission announced their approval of the deal, made a Twitter thread to go over their thoughts about all this. And I thought in my head, you know what? When you stand by your decision, you don't have to justify it to anybody else. But the fact that they were out there within minutes shows me that they don't have a lot of faith in their own decision making, and they're worried about the appeal process. Because if you're confident in your conclusions and findings, if they're completely unbiased and based in facts, you would not be worried about what some other regulator has to say about the matter. You would be confident in your own decision, and we wouldn't say anything at all. So the CMA went on to say that the UK, US, and European competition authorities are unanimous that this merger would harm competition in cloud gaming. The CMA concluded that the cloud gaming needs to continue as a free, competitive market to drive innovation and choice in this rapidly evolving sector. Microsoft's proposals, accepted by the European Commission today, would allow Microsoft to set the terms and conditions for this market for the next 10 years. They would replace a free, open, and competitive market with one subject to ongoing regulation of the games Microsoft sells, the platform to which it sells them, and the conditions of sale. This is one of the reasons the CMA's independent panel group rejected Microsoft's proposals and prevented this deal. While we recognize and respect the European Commission is entitled to take a different view, the CMA stands by its decision. Now, we're going to go over all the different reasons why the European Commission decided to approve this deal, why the CMA didn't. But one of the big things that I noticed just based off of this thread and what's going on between the competition in the cloud gaming market and how small it is the CMA is saying they're basically protecting the market. They're protecting current competitors and future competitors from the big bad wolf that is Microsoft. Although the companies that signed a deal with Microsoft, like Nvidia and Boosteroid, have all said that they would love the deal to go through, and they think that the CMA's got it wrong. So how does the competition that the CMA is supposedly protecting Microsoft from all want the deal to actually happen because they believe it will improve competition and actually grow this market instead of the market never taking off in the first place, which is a realistic probability. So the Commission's preliminary investigation found that Microsoft could harm competition in the distribution of console and PC video games, including multi-game subscription services and cloud game streaming services, and in the supply of PC operating systems. Basically, they had three theories of harm: that Microsoft could somehow stifle competition or be a monopoly in console gaming, that Xbox Game Pass would become dominant in the multi-game subscription services, and in the area of cloud gaming. Very similar to what the CMA was seeing with their preliminary findings. But the Commission's in-depth market investigation indicated that Microsoft would not be able to harm rival consoles and rival multi-game subscription services. So basically saying that Call of Duty is not all that. Microsoft is not going to be able to harm PlayStation by keeping it exclusive because they feel that they would never do that. And then Xbox Game Pass suddenly isn't going to destroy the market, so there's no harm there. However, at the same time, the European Commission said that it confirmed that Microsoft could harm competition in the distribution of games via cloud gaming streaming service, and that its position in the market for PC operating systems would be strengthened. The document goes on to say that Microsoft would have no incentive to refuse to distribute Activision's game to Sony, which is the leading distributor of console games worldwide, including in the European Economic Area, where there are 4 Sony PlayStation consoles for every Microsoft Xbox console bought by gamers. Indeed, Microsoft would have strong incentives to continue distributing Activision's games via device as popular as Sony's PlayStation. And even if Microsoft did decide to withdraw Activision games from PlayStation, this would not significantly harm competition in the console market. Even if Call of Duty is largely played on console, it is less popular in the EEA than in other regions of the world, and is less popular in the EEA within its genre compared to other markets. Therefore, even without being able to offer this specific game, Sony could leverage its size, extensive games catalog, and market position to fend off any attempt to weaken its competitive position. Basically saying all the hot air that Jim Ryan and PlayStation has been saying for over a year about how we can't live without Call of Duty and all this sort of nonsense, the European Commission said, We don't believe it one bit. Microsoft, even if they did make Call of Duty exclusive, it wouldn't really affect you too dramatically. You could leverage your size and your brand power and your extensive games catalog to fend off any attempt, which is what they're doing with all their third-party exclusive deals and things of that nature. Coming to the same conclusion that Brazil did a long time ago, and essentially coming to the same conclusion that the CMA did once they corrected their wrong math that they were ridiculed for. All the regulators have came to the same decision that Call of Duty is not that important in the console space, and that Sony would be perfectly fine without it if Microsoft decided to make it exclusive. The document goes on to say that even without this transaction, Activision would not have made its games available for multi-game subscription services like Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, as this would cannibalize sales of individual games. Therefore, the situation for third-party providers of multiple game subscription services would not change after the acquisition of Activision by Microsoft. But the acquisition would harm competition in the distribution of PC and console games via cloud gaming streaming services, an innovative market segment that could transform the way many gamers play video games. Despite its potential, cloud game streaming is very limited today. The Commission found that the popularity of Activision's games could promote its growth. Instead, if Microsoft made Activision games exclusive to its own cloud gaming streaming service, Game Pass Ultimate, and withheld them for rival cloud game streaming providers, it would reduce competition in the distribution of games via cloud gaming streaming. You know, it's incredibly funny to me to have this entire conversation leading up to this moment be completely about Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty. Sony and Microsoft going back and forth about Call of Duty and would it be exclusive, and PlayStation being worried it would be degraded and all that sort of stuff. And in the end, it basically didn't even matter because the European Commission and the CMA said there would be no lessening of competition in the console market. And they both agree that there could be a lessening of competition in the cloud gaming market. And where the CMA decided to block because the remedies weren't good enough, the European Commission actually went the opposite direction and approved it because of the proposed remedies, which, to address the competition concerns identified by the Commission in the market for distribution of PC and console games via cloud gaming streaming services, Microsoft offered the following comprehensive licensing commitments with a 10-year duration, which is interesting because the CMA said that they weren't comprehensive and there was a whole bunch of vague terminology. So everybody gets a free license to consumers in the EEA that would allow them to stream via any cloud game streaming services of their choice, all current and future Activision Blizzard PC and console games for which they have a license, and a corresponding free license to cloud game streaming service providers to allow EEA-based gamers to stream any Activision Blizzard's PC and console games. Today, Activision Blizzard does not license its games to cloud game streaming services, nor does it stream the games itself. These licenses will ensure that gamers that have purchased one or more Activision games on a PC or console store, or that have subscribed to a multi-game subscription service that includes Activision games, have the right to stream those games with any cloud game streaming services of their choice and play them on any device using any operating system. The remedies also ensure that Activision games available for streaming will have the same quality and content as games available for a traditional download. These commitments fully address the competition concerns identified by the Commission and represent a significant improvement for cloud game streaming compared to the current situation. They will empower millions of EEA consumers to stream Activision's games using any cloud gaming services operating in the EEA, provided they are purchased in an online store or included in an active multi-game subscription in the EEA. In addition, the availability of Activision's popular games for streaming via all cloud game streaming services will boost the development of this dynamic technology in the EEA. Ultimately, the commitments will unlock significant benefits for competition and consumers by bringing Activision's games to new platforms, including smaller EU players and to more devices than before. Now, this is completely mind-blowing because the European Commission is saying that the merger alongside with these remedies actually improves the current situation of the cloud gaming market, and that these agreements that Microsoft has agreed to, these commitments, actually will unlock significant benefits not only to the competition like Boosteroid and Nvidia and all those smaller EU cloud gaming companies, but most importantly to consumers as well. And it's kind of funny, hilarious, sad, any way you want to look at it, that the European Commission has decided that this is beneficial to everybody once the remedies are in place, where the CMA took the opposite approach and said that it needs to be blocked to protect consumers and protect the competition, even though by doing that you might stifle the market. The CMA was essentially arguing that it was better to keep cloud gaming small and not grow at all than to grow cloud gaming, grow competitors at the expense of maybe Microsoft being a key player in that area. And it's very interesting to me to see two regulators come to two very different conclusions. The document goes on to say that the Commission carefully investigated the effectiveness of the remedies, collecting views from a large number of market participants and stakeholders. In particular, cloud game streaming service providers gave positive feedback and showed interest in the licenses. Some of these providers have already entered into bilateral agreements with Microsoft based on the proposed licenses to stream Activision's games once the transaction is completed. Taking into consideration the feedback of the market, the Commission concluded that the proposed acquisition, as modified by the commitments, would no longer raise competition concerns and would ultimately unlock significant benefits for competition and consumers. The Commission's decision is conditional upon full compliance with the commitments. Under supervision of the Commission, an independent trustee will be in charge of monitoring their implementation. So what else is there really to say? Everything's laid out in plain English for everybody. The European Commission thinks the merger is good, and alongside the commitments from Microsoft, this is actually going to unlock significant benefits for competition and most importantly for consumers, which is the exact opposite conclusion the CMA has come to. So where does this leave the deal? I don't really know. Some people will tell you it's 100% happening, it's gonna close this year, next year. Some people tell you it's basically dead as a doornail. There's 5% chance of it happening, 0% chance. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't deal with the CMA. I'm just a bystander interested in seeing the different reactions between the regulators. How does one come to one conclusion, and how does the other come to a completely different one? Not only that, but how does all the regulators so far come to one conclusion, and one single regulator so far come to a completely different resolution? There's only one thing I know for sure about whether or not this deal is going to be approved or whether or not it's going to get ultimately blocked. One thing I do know is that Microsoft and Activision are not going to stop fighting for this deal, and the European Commission just gave them the second wind that they sorely needed, and Microsoft could collect all their data, all their arguments, present it to the CAT to say that the CMA acted irrationally, they defined the market wrong, and because of that, you need to overturn the CMA's decision, and they're going to use the European Commission's findings. They're probably going to use other regulators' findings to help push that narrative into appeal. Now, what CAT would do with that information if they agree with Microsoft, if they think the CMA overstepped their bounds and incorrectly defined the market, then maybe they flip it and say, we don't need to send it back to the CMA, it can just be approved. Maybe the CAT says, all right, we'll change some things, the CMA has to take a second look at it, in which case, who knows what would happen there. Now, for those of you hoping for a resolution today, hoping that the European Commission would follow in the CMA's footsteps and block the deal so this whole thing can be ended right now forever, you're not going to get your wish. We're going to get more months and months and months and maybe another year of back and forth. And who isn't excited about the ABK drama dragging on for potentially another 6 to 12 months? That's the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know what you think about everything in the comments below. Make sure to hit that like button. Please subscribe if you're new. Share this out on social media, and check out the Patreon for the Xbox 2 podcast in the description below. Love you guys so much. Thank you for checking it out, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.